Hey now. Hey now. Yeah! Bobby back. And the difference is doing it. I'm back this time with everyone's favorite series on these here TDIDI airwaves. I'm speaking of other Basement Disc Dyers. Okay, look, I am so super stoked about this edition. I've been hyping it up for like a month now, so it's no secret that in today's edition we are going to be featuring our special guest disc dyer is my main man Austin from Dyes by Red. Look, he is the originator of the infamous Lazy Wavy design. You're seeing a bunch of his discs scroll over my super high-tech microphone right now. Look, we've seen it imitated like a million times over now, but very rarely duplicated at these levels of awesomeness. All that changes today because my man is here to pull the curtain all the way back and walk us through every step of the process, soup to nuts, so that every one of you out there can whip up one of these bangers all for yourself. We're talking about a total dude. Yeah. You'll see exactly what I mean. So today, Austin is going to be guiding us through not one, but 4 of his different Lazy Wavy signature designs, and maybe more importantly, like all of the prep work that goes into it beforehand, like getting that dye mix just right. But I don't want to spoil any of it, and I can feel the babble threshold approaching quickly. So it is time to turn the cameras around and let Austin take the reins. I will just circle back on the other side for some quick goodbyes. All right, it is time for some doing it Lazy Wavy style.
Hey everyone, it's Austin from Dyes by Red. I can't tell you how excited I am to be featured on the TDIDI channel. I've been a fan for a long time. I'm going to walk you through a lot of steps here from beginning to end the creation of a Lazy Wave dye. We're going to go over, washing your disc, the glue mask, mixing your dyes. We're going to go over multiple of my signature designs, the Lazy Wave, the Rainbow Wave, the Double Lazy Wave, and also one of my newer ones that I like to call the Lazy Claws. So I hope you enjoy the video, and we'll see you on the other side. Thanks again. As always, before we dye any disc, we're going to want to wash our disc. We're going to do that using some Dawn dish soap and a magic eraser. Just scrub the surface of the disc hard, but not too hard. Make sure you go easy around the stamps. We don't want to damage them, but make sure you get a good scrub and make sure we get all of that silicone release oil off of the disc. The next step I'm going to go over is glue masking. What I like to usually say, if you want to take your dyes to the next level, the quickest, easiest way to do that is with a simple glue mask. I like to do them with stamps like you see here. I like to work with the stamp and incorporate the stamp into my design rather than have my design go through the stamp and kind of have the stamp blend into the whole dye. I want to mask it off to prevent it from being dyed, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to lotion paint over it. The way I usually do this is I just use simple white glue. You can use Elmer's white glue. I personally use white glue from Michael's Craft Store. And it's really simple. You just go over the stamp with a normal layer of glue, and then we're gonna let it dry completely and then do a second layer. I always do 2 layers every time, no question, and rarely have I had any complications as far as the dye bleeding through. If you're doing multiple discs, I have a nice little office rack that I got at a thrift store. You can have them up there drying. And then I have this Vornado fan. This thing is a beast. I put the fan in front of all my discs, and it typically takes just a couple hours to dry completely. Now that we have our disc wash and our stamps masked off, we're going to get into the making of our lotion dyes. Now, typically what I use for this is Suave cocoa butter lotion, but really any kind of cheaper and cocoa butter lotions or just lotions in general will work. You don't want to go too cheap. I don't recommend using dollar store lotion. I've used those a couple times and those tend to be so cheap that they're unusable. So don't go for like a super expensive lotion, but don't go super cheap either. I think these 32 ounce bottles were like about $5 a piece. In this case, I'm making, I think, about 8 colors, including the white bases. And for that, I use about 2 bottles of lotion. If you're making a lot of dye at one time, I actually add water to my lotion before I start mixing. That's gonna save you some time in the long run if you just wanna splash it with some water beforehand. Now we'll get into the actual dye mixture. For all of these dyes, I'm pretty much using Pro Chemical and Dye Disc Dye powder, except for black and pink, in which case I'm using iDye Poly. As far as quantity goes, I'm using roughly about a teaspoon of dye per 8 to 12 ounces of my lotion mixture. So what I do is I add the dye first in a glass cup, and then I'm going to water that down with some hot water just to get all of the powder dye incorporated into the water. I find that this makes the whole mixing process a lot easier. It's going to help us reduce clumps. Right there I add a little bit of iDye color intensifier, and now I'm going to add roughly I'd say about an ounce of Floetrol. Once I get that all in the glass, I want to mix it up until there are no chunks and no clumps. I want a nice smooth consistency, and really I find once I do this and I add the lotion into the mixture, it's just gonna make the whole mixing process way easier. I find sometimes if you try to shake it in the bottle, you can get clumps, you can get chunks, you can get powder in the mixture. And with the Lazy Wave dye, I always say consistency is the main thing with this dye. I don't want any clumps, I don't want any chunks. I want my dye to essentially, I want it to look like paint essentially. I want it to be nice and I want it to be smooth. And speaking of consistency, I'm going to show you some shots here. Once we stir this up, usually when you stir it up, it's going to end up being a little too on the thick side. And the way I look at this is doing this little drip test. If it's dripping like this, your dye is going to be too thick, in which case we're just going to add some more hot water little by little until we get the right consistency. And I have a shot here showing you what the right consistency is going to look like. Again, using the drip test, you want it to just slide off the end of your stick, and just use that shot. And I'm going to have another shot up here showing for reference how thin you want the mixture to be. And when you put it all together, this is what it looks like. This is me mixing all of the different colors. You can also see in this video, if you have extra lotion dye from your last batch, you can also just mix a little bit in to your current batch. So like I was saying earlier, consistency is the most important thing with this type of dye. You want every single color to be the same consistency. You don't want your red to be twice as thick as your yellow. You don't want your yellow to be super thin and then another be super thick. You want everything to be the same consistency. As you can see, it kind of just slides off the end of the stick. And I also, the little trail that it leaves, I also use that for a reference. I reference how quickly that trail kind of falls back to flat. So it's kind of hard to explain, but just use this video as a reference if possible, and try to reference this this drip test when you make your own dye. And with the white backgrounds that I do on these dyes, I'm doing the same thing. It's an ounce of Floetrol and then the rest is lotion, and it's going to be thinned out to the same consistency as all of the other dyes. This is going to be the background color of some of our Lazy Wave dyes. And there you have it. I want to say thank you to everybody who watched this video, and I want to give a special thank you to Bobby for having me on the show and really everything he's done for the disc dye community. If this video has helped you at all, please consider giving me a follow on my social media. It's at Dyes by Red on Instagram and YouTube. Make sure you check out my YouTube in the future. There's going to be more methods, more tips, more tricks, more videos. And if you have any questions at all, make sure you reach out to me on Instagram at Dyes by Red. That's going to be the quickest way that you can get a hold of me. I love giving advice. I love helping people through the different processes, the mixing process, the dye process, everything. So reach out to me on there, and always remember to keep doing it. See you next time.
Yeah, I told you he was a total dude. I told you. I mean, come on. How awesome was that? My man took us right to downtown Boomtown and back again. And back again and again and again. Yeah. And he made it look like so easy too, right? I know that I'm not the only one who, after watching that, was left thinking, yo, I can totally do that. I can totally do that. Which, if you were one of those people left thinking that too, you right. Like, as always, the difference just comes down to that doing it part, especially when my man laid out every single step you need to take to get there in such detail. I mean, he hit it all. You know, they say that imitation is the highest form of flattery. I say, get to flattering that boy. Yeah. I'll also say this. You know, it never ceases to amaze me when artists like Austin and so many of the other disc dyers that we've been lucky enough to have on this series, when they come on and they're so open and so willing to share like the intricate details and secrets that make their signature styles so special, just so that the rest of us can make some discs that are that much cooler. I'll remind you, Austin sells Lazy Wavy discs for income. If that doesn't inspire in you the type of appreciation that makes you want to more than just consider, like he said, subscribing to his awesome YouTube channel and bombing his social media accounts straight into downtown Boomtown. Bomb them into Boomtown. If it doesn't inspire that kind of thing in you, then I'm here to tell you, you're in the wrong place. You stumbled into the wrong spot, because that is how we do things around here. My man brought the heat. I say you bring it right back. Maybe, like, an even better way to show some appreciation is to hit him up for a disc and add an original bona fide Lazy Wavy disc to your own bag, just like I did. Yeah! Okay, look, I actually got this disc a couple years ago back at Ledgestone. There was a guy there selling discs for him. I recognized it right away as some of his artwork, and I snatched it right up. Gimme that! Yeah. The last thing I'll say is just an outright and very sincere thank you. Right at you, Austin, because that was awesome, and I can't imagine how you could have done it any better. Thank you, brother. We are already working with a couple more artists on up-and-coming episodes of but we are always looking for more, and who knows, maybe that's you, or maybe like that's your favorite disc dyer who you've always wondered, like, how the hell do they do that? Listen, hit me up, peer pressure them to hit me up. And we will make something happen, Captain. All right, kids, that is the whole Lazy Wavy show. I hope that you enjoyed that ride even half as much as I did. So many thanks to my main man, Austin, bro. That was awesome. You kids get to flattering him right away with all of your Lazy Wavy stylings, and more than just considering bombing his social media right to downtown Boomtown. Yeah! All right. And we will be back with more of that good stuff real soon. Until that time comes, you better keep doing it. Yeah!
Oh.
Heartbreaker!
Oh no.